Hey there, and welcome back to the channel. Ryan Nordahl here with Epic Whitetail Habitat LLC. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and a share. But today, I want to give you my top 6 hinge cut bedding area fails. You know, the best thing to do when it comes to even the possibility of hinge cutting is first consult with a logger or a forester in your county, because there's always opportunity on a lot of the properties that I see to put money back into the property owner's pocket to help offset any of the costs of the projects that we may be including in their habitat plan. So always do that first. But here's a lot of the things that I see that can go wrong. Here's my top 6. You know, when guys go into hinge cutting, they think they can do it on their own, and they haven't really experienced the training, or, you know, they haven't really had the experience of doing it. And, you know, it can be a very dangerous thing if you've never hinge cut a tree before, because what we're doing when we're hinge cutting trees is we're keeping that tree together as it falls over. And with certain species of trees, they can easily snap off, or even larger diameter trees, they can barber chair off is what we call it. And if you don't know what you're doing, boy, you can get seriously hurt or even worse, and I don't want that to happen to any of you. So if you're going to attempt hinge cutting, my suggestion is don't. Seek out professional help from a logger or somebody that's done it, like myself or others in the industry that do it as well and have had the experience. I have a number of years of experience. I get hired out to do hinge cutting projects all the time. But here's what I find: most people, when they've attempted it themselves, and even I've made these mistakes in the past as well, but it's cutting too deep and cutting that tree at an angle. Cutting that tree at an angle is absolutely the worst thing that you can do. You know, everybody wants to cut that tree at an angle because they think that that's going to help fall that tree over. And the other thing is they cut way too far, because most of the time they don't have the tools that are required to help push that tree over, such as a habitat hook or the proper wedges to help fall that tree over. They want to Armstrong it over. So the deeper we can cut it, the better we can get it over. Or we cut it at an angle and we think that it's going to fall that way. Boy, you cut it at an angle and that tree snaps and it kicks back. I hope you can get out of the way, because that can be a very dangerous situation. Also, we're not clearing out enough of the larger trees in the area. We're not face cutting them and completely dropping them out of the area, opening up that large canopy. These larger trees can have large canopy. Now, I'm not saying take out trees that are 3-4 feet around, but, you know, anything over 8 inches, I'm not going to hinge cut. I'm going to completely get out of the way. And most of those trees have a large canopy anyway. Why not take them out? Now I can go back, I can hinge cut the smaller trees and fall them on top of that larger tree, giving it a cushion and retaining the majority of my trees, retaining that connection, the majority of the trees that I hinge cut over. Again, it all goes back to not having the proper tools. And that habitat hook, wedges, they're all important tools to have if you're going to attempt any hinge cutting. I can pull those smaller trees down. I can position the trees where I want them to be. Yeah, I'm always cutting in the direction I want that tree to fall, but they can hang up in the limbs of some of the other trees around sometimes. And that way I can pull it down. I can pull it into position of where I really want that tree to be. The other thing I see is guys just randomly going in the woods. They think they found a great bedding pocket for deer. They want deer to be there. You know, guys, it's not always the case. The best thing that you can do is relate your hinge cuts close to the food, you know, the food plots on your property, because that's where does want to be. And really, when it comes to a hinge cut bedding area, that's where your does and fawns are going to be, your smaller bucks and stuff. It's called layering. Your does, your fawns, your smaller bucks, younger age class bucks, they're going to relate closer to the food sources, and then your bucks further back. If you have a hinge cut bedding area that's 100, 200 yards away from the food source and no other bedding opportunities closer to the food source, you're pushing those deer further back and you're pushing the bucks even further back. You know, are you really doing anything to create that daytime movement that we're looking for, especially for you guys that like to sit closest to food plots? The other thing I want to touch on, again, not opening enough canopy. We're not removing enough trees. We're not hinging enough over. We're not completely removing enough trees to allow the hinge cut trees to survive, to stump sprout, and hopefully get them to survive for years to come. I've done many hinge cuts now that are, you know, we're 10 years into them and they're still, they're still generating leaves, foliar activity. And I know of guys, you know, Jake Ehlinger is one in the business, 20 plus years on a hinge cut tree, and it's still regenerating woody growth, and that's absolutely excellent, and it can be achieved. You're not killing the tree, you're maintaining enough cambium layer to keep that tree alive and connected. And the last thing I want to touch on is when you go in, perform a hinge cut bedding area, it's not a one and done deal. You don't go in, hinge cut the area, now I'm done. The deer come right in. You got to go back in, you got to clear out travel corridors within that hinge cut bedding area, bedding pocket opportunities for deer to lay down, to mingle around, having that side cover, a little bit of overhead cover, because deer will tuck in underneath hinge cuts, you know, in adverse weather conditions. Not all the time. They're more relating to the side cover that hinge cuts provide. That horizontal, the horizontal side cover that hinge cutting provides. But in adverse weather conditions, they will lay underneath. And, you know, I've seen a lot of buck bedding too, you know, where classic case was down in Missouri. It was almost like a cave of multiflora rose. There was a down tree, the multiflora rose had grown up over the top. Now, yes, I understand that he was relating more to the side cover than anything, but it was a cave effect with that multiflora rose growing up over that deadfall. I've seen it, and that's what we're trying to duplicate. Then I'll go back in, I'll rake out those beds, I'll level them up with a shovel if I have to move some significant soil around, keeping it bare. I'll spray those beds out because deer would rather lay on a dirt surface than anything. Yeah, it's kind of catch-22 here in the upper Midwest with the snow that we get in the wintertime. I get that, but I want to keep it as clear as possible. Hey, I know deer will lay anywhere. They'll lay on sticks, whatever. But if I can make it a 5-star hotel, giving them that feather bed, if you will, to lay on, they're going to lay there. I've seen it happen. It is worth the extra effort. Many will think that it's a waste of time to go in and do this stuff. Guys, it has to be done, especially clearing out lanes. Deer are lazy. They want the path of least resistance. Heck, I've gone into CRP fields and mowed trails in CRP fields to direct that traffic to a specific stand location. Deer will take the path of least resistance. You got to go in, you got to go into your hinge cut bedding areas, and you got to open up travel corridors that lead to a specific stand location. Heck, even 2 stand locations to play the different winds that there are, if it can be done. But those are the top 6 things that I want to talk about when I see failures in hinge cuts. Thanks for joining me. God bless you guys. Hope you guys are having continued success with your summer habitat projects. Keep living the dream, guys. And I'll see you on my next video. Thanks for joining me today.